So, the eldritch horror of H.P. Lovecraft meets the military aspect of Aliens, meets the body horror elements of The Thing, meets the deep thematic elements of Arrival and Under the Skin, while still managing to be wholly original and unique. I'm in.
Can you describe its form?
No.
Start from the beginning.
Annihilation is directed by Alex Garland, the director of Ex Machina, a film that I adored. It stars Natalie Portman as Lena, a biologist who, along with 4 other scientists, embarks on a mission into a mysterious event known only as the Shimmer. It's based on a novel of the same name by Jeff Vandermeer, and let me tell you, after seeing this movie, I really want to read that book. As I said, I was one of the many people who adored Ex Machina, so the idea of Alex Garland directing a sci-fi body horror film, that's heaven to me. And let me tell you, I wasn't disappointed. I feel like this is the first truly great film we've gotten this year, at least on the horror front, and I'm thrilled at that. Just a forewarning, it is rather difficult to talk about this film without going into some spoilers, so I'm going to allocate most of those to a section at the end after I rate the film. First off, I love that this film is the first I've seen to truly capture the essence of real Lovecraftian horror. It handles it better than most films I've seen that try and tackle the subject. I really do love some good cosmic horror, and this film does it brilliantly by posing one simple question: how do you describe the indescribable? In short, this film is visually phenomenal. Between the set design, the color grading, the breathtaking practical effects, and the CGI that is handled in a way that isn't terrible, this movie's a visual marvel. The Shimmer itself is a really amazing sight, and everything that they see once they're inside it is as breathtaking as it is horrifying. Speaking of which, when this movie wants to be horrifying, it gets fucking horrifying. Be it through body horror, cosmic horror, existential horror, whatever, this movie really goes the distance. There are some exceptionally tense sequences in this film, and there are some concepts that are truly nightmarish to think about. In the moment, they're scary, sure, but once you let them stew in your brain, they become harrowing. Going into detail on what I'm talking about right now would be spoiler heavy, but once I get into the spoiler section, I'm going to talk in detail about what I found scary and also the thematic elements about this film that I really enjoyed. Most of the performances in this film are pretty good, with Natalie Portman being the best by far. Her chemistry with Oscar Isaac is really great, and you can feel the tension from them from the moment they're on screen together. Oscar Isaac himself is really underutilized, as is Tessa Thompson, as is Gina Rodriguez, as is Jennifer Jason Leigh. Pretty much everyone on the cast, except for Natalie Portman, is either underutilized or underdeveloped. And it's a shame, because these are some powerhouse actors. Oscar Isaac, Tessa Thompson, these are great actors, and they're being really underused in this film. No one's really developed past a few lines of dialogue, and most of those lines of dialogue are really expository. And that brings me to my next issue with the film, is the writing at times can be really sloppy. A lot of it is really fucking expository when it does not need to be. And yeah, this helps when you're explaining some of the more fantastical sci-fi concepts like the Shimmer itself and what it's doing. Then it stops being helpful when it's explaining things that some of the audience has probably already figured out for themselves. It feels a little like the film is trying to dumb itself down. I have a specific example I'm referring to there, but I don't want to talk about it yet, again, because of spoilers. All in all, the movie does have some noteworthy flaws, as I mentioned, but I feel that the pros far outweigh the cons, especially with the heavy thematic elements regarding life and human nature, as well as the sheer originality of this piece. I honestly feel like this is the first great horror film of 2018, and I'm gonna say that Annihilation is a must-see. Do your best to go in blind, guys. Try and avoid the trailers if you can, because they definitely paint this film as more of a sci-fi action adventure, and it's less of that and more of an artfully shot, character-driven think piece with some action elements to it. It's far more focused on the characters and the atmosphere, though, than it is the action. If that interests you, definitely check this movie out. Give it some support, because adventurous, boundary-pushing horror like this is something we need more of. Alright, now I'm going to talk about some spoilers, so if you have not seen Annihilation yet, first of all, I urge you to do so. Second, click away. First of all, I love the way this film explored certain themes, specifically those regarding human nature and the human propensity for self-loathing and self-destruction. The latter is really hammered home when Venture starts talking about how self-destruction is a biological need for humans, how it's almost programmed into our every cell. There was one line specifically I found really poignant and excellent. I believe it was something along the lines of, "People rarely commit suicide, but we commit self-destruction on an almost daily basis." That right there is the theme of the film overall, and it completely sums up the reason for the being's destruction in the end, in that it's assimilating and replicating and mirroring Lena's self-loathing and self-destructive tendencies to the point where it destroys itself. I also love what this film says about life as a whole, in that this thing isn't good, it isn't evil, it's not there because it wants something, as despite the fact that every human character believes it to want something or to be malevolent or benevolent or something. It doesn't want anything, it just exists, it just is. Much like Lena is explaining to her students at the beginning with the fact that it was complete happenstance that life happened at all via a single cell replicating and being created and forming just purely by chance. This thing landed on our planet purely by chance, and simply its existence and simply its properties started warping everything around it and refracting DNA, which is an awesome concept, and creating new things and changing things. And I think that's excellent. You don't need a big fucking evil alien monster. It literally is just, it is. It's not good, it's not bad, it just exists. When I was talking about the more horrifying aspects of this film, there were two examples that I was specifically referring to. The first is when Lena and her team find Kane's videotape, where they cut one of their teammates open and find that his intestines are moving like fucking worms. The score, the visuals, and the concept of one's body coming alive and moving around inside of them is fairly horrifying, and just the way that scene is shot and handled is really, really, really excellent. But for me, the scariest part of this film was the fucking bear. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Having a bear mimicking the dying screams of a woman it killed is scary enough, but once you really think about it, it becomes fucking horrifying. Because some part of Shepard got spliced together with that bear, and it leaves you to wonder how much of her consciousness and how much of her awareness was left in there, especially when it's clear by the end with Lena and Kane, that these amalgamations of different people and things are retaining some sort of awareness of the fact that they are not who they once were. That's fucking nightmarish. Of course, then the movie feels the need to dictate this to you through dialogue that I feel is unnecessary when Josie is just explaining to Natalie Portman how, I wonder how much of her is in there. Like, you didn't need that line. You didn't need Tessa Thompson explaining to the audience, oh yeah, I mean, part of Shepard's probably still in there, because you can figure that out on your own just based on the concepts of the film and how they've explained how the shimmer works. Like I said though, I enjoyed the fuck out of this movie. I thought it was really adventurous and really unique and really cool, and I can't recommend enough that you check it out. It does have some issues for sure, but it's very unique, and it's very cool, and it's gorgeous to look at, and it's one of the more boundary-pushing horror films I've seen in a while. So, support that shit. As always, thank you so much for watching. You could click down there and like and comment and subscribe, and I'll be back real soon, guys. Thank you so much.
It's making something new.